Hello and welcome to today's webinar. I, Pranand Patil, welcome you to today's webinar on data analytics. I, Pranand Patil, I work as software engineer at ABC Trainings. I welcome you to today's session on data analytics. In, in the last session, we all saw the data analytics tools, or we saw the applications of data analytic tools like Tableau, Apache Superset, Google Looker, etc. Now the next data analytic tool is Excel. So why we use Excel? So Excel is one of the basic softwares that is used across. So Excel is one of the basic softwares that is Excel is one of the basic software that is used across all the industries, or it is used in all the fields. May it be mechanical field, may it be IT field, or may it be civil field, or may it be electrical field. So Excel is one of that common software, or Excel is one of those common software which is used in all fields. Okay, using Excel, what all we can do? Using Excel, what all we can do? We can do data visualization. We can uh, we can present data in tabular form using Excel. Also, using Excel, what we can do? Also, using Excel, what we can do? That may your data be in any form. May your data be in any form means may your data be in PDF form, or may your data be in .SQL form, or may your data be or may your data be in or may your data be in Word form, or may your data be in form of a web file. So that data you can import it into a Excel. That data you can import it into a Excel file, and you can perform various operations on that data, like good evening and hello and welcome to today's session on data analytics and visualization tools. In the last session, we saw information and use of data analytic tools like Power BI, Tableau, Apache Superset, Google Looker, etc. Okay. In today's session, we are going to have a look on the use of data analytic tools like Excel, SQL, and Python. So Excel is the foundation of data analysis, still widely used across all industries. It has functions, charts, pivot tables, and macros, support a range of use cases. It is quick for small data sets, ADHOC reporting, and calculations. Now, Excel is a basic software which is used across all industries. So may it be mechanical industry, may it be IT industry, may it be electrical industry, or may it be civil industry. Excel is a basic software which is used across all the industries. Okay. Now, for example, in civil field, Excel is used for as we can say that MSP, right? Okay. Then after that, using Excel, what all we can do? That is, we can perform various operations like data cleaning, adding new columns, or visualizing the data, or also we can use functions like if with and if with or choose function, switch function, etc. Using Excel we can visualize the data. Also using Excel, what you can do? That is get and transform the data. Get and transform the data means what? That may your data be in any format. May your data be in any format. In any format means may your data be in .pdf format, or may your data be in .csv format, or may your data be in doc format. Doc format means may your data be stored in a Word file, or may your data be stored on any online resource. Okay, what you can do is simply import that data into an Excel file, and after that perform various operations on it, like data cleaning, or creating new features based on existing features. Now feature means what? Feature means column. Okay, feature means column. That is for example, consider you have a data set. In that you have two columns. That is, for example, consider the formula area of circle is equal to pi r square. Okay, in that case, for example, consider that the data set which you have, in that you have a column named pi, and second column you have r, which represents radius. Okay, now in the pi column, all rows will have the same value, that is 3.14, since value of pi is constant. But the column r, in column r, all rows will have different radius, since radius of circle never remains constant, right? So now the first column is pi and the second column is r, and on the basis of both these columns, what you can do, that is create a new column named area. Okay, and for calculating area of circle, we use the formula pi r square, right? So based on these two columns, that is pi and r, you can create a new column named area of circle. Okay, and how you can calculate the area of circle, that is using formula pi r square, right? So we can say that using these two features, that is pi and r, what we can do, that is create a new feature named area of circle. Okay, and how we calculate area of circle, that is using pi r square. In the same way, you can drop rows containing empty cells or null values. Okay, after that you can visualize the data or perform analysis on data. In the same way, you can also get and transform the data. You can visualize the data, and you can also use functions. Then using Excel, you can also visualize data using different visualization tools like pivot tables, or using different data visualizations like line chart, pie chart, clustered column, etc. Okay. Also, you can get and transform the data, and in Excel you can also use functions and macros that support a range of use cases. Now, after learning Excel, you can land different job roles like entry-level analyst, reporting specialist, business support analyst, etc. Okay, and also using Excel, you can get and transform the data. That is, may your data be in any format. May it be in CSV format, may it be in Word format, may it be in PDF format, or may it be in PPT format, or may it be in .SQL format. You can import the file in an Excel file. You can import that data stored in other format in an Excel file, and after that perform data analysis on it. So the next point is of SQL. The next data analysis tool is SQL. It is the language for querying relational databases like MySQL, PostgreSQL, and SQL Server. It is vital for data extraction, cleaning, transformation, and building data pipelines. It forms the base for nearly all data analytics projects. Now, what is SQL? SQL stands for Structured Query Language. In SQL, what we do, that is store data in a database. In database, we store data in form of tables, and in tables, we store data in the form of rows and columns. Now, while designing any applications, there are three main components which are created. Okay, first one is front end, the second one is intermediate, and the third one is back end. Right now, so intermediate means what? Database. That is, after creating a software, only creating that software is not enough, but using that software, whatever operations you are going to do, or whatever is the functionality of that software, you will 100% need a database to store all the data. That is, for example, consider if you have created a software for a grocery shop, then what will be the use of that software? That software will be used for billing purpose, right? So you will 100% need data. That is while creating any application or while creating any software, you need to compulsory design front end, back end, and intermediate. Only designing front end and back end, or only designing back end and intermediate, or only designing any one component out of these three components will never be enough. Compulsory you need to design all these three components: front end, back end, and intermediate. Then only we consider that that application or that software application is completed. Right now, SQL is used for storing data in databases. In databases, we store data in form of tables. In tables, we store data in form of rows and columns. Now, in SQL, there are many things like aggregate functions, clauses, constraints, etc. First, first in SQL, or there are many versions of SQL like MySQL, PostgreSQL, and SQL Server. There is also MongoDB, and in all these versions, what we do, we execute the basic queries like create, insert, update, delete, drop, truncate, alter, etc. Right? Firstly, while learning SQL, first you need to know all these basic queries, that is create, insert, update, delete, drop, alter, etc. Also, as I told you in my previous session, that not only learning the main concepts of a programming language are enough, or not only learning the main concepts of any scripting language or a database language aren't enough, but you should also be familiar with the minute details of that language. May that language be a programming language, scripting language, or a database language. Like in SQL, as I told you, that we store data in database in form of tables, and in tables we store data in form of rows and columns. But in SQL, row is also known as a record, and column is also known as a field. These are the minute details that every individual should know. In the same way, you execute first of all, or while learning SQL. The first point which everyone learns is the basic queries. That is create, insert, update, delete, select, alter, drop, truncate, etc. But in that also there are many minute details. Like for example, if you compare alter statement and update statement. Okay, if you compare alter statement and update statement, using update statement, what we do, that is we update the data in a table. Using update statement, we update the data in a table. But using alter table statement, we alter the structure of the table. That is using update statement, what we do, that is we update the data stored in a table. Okay, we update the data stored in a table. But using alter table statement, what all we can do, that is drop an existing column from a table, rename the table name, or add a new column in an existing table, or modify any columns data type, etc. That is what we do. That is using update table statement, using update statement, we update the data stored in a table. But using alter table statement, we alter the structure of the table. That is drop a column from a table, or drop a column from an existing table, or add a new column in an existing table, or modify any existing columns data type in a table, or rename the table name, etc. Right? So what does update do? Update affects the rows of, what does update statement do? That is update statement affects the rows of the table, whereas alter table statement affects the structure of the table. Right? In the same way, if you compare alter table statement and delete statement, what these both statements do, that is, as I told you, alter table statement affects the structure of the table. It affects the structure of the table means, using alter table statement, you can drop an existing column from a table, or add a new column in an existing table, or rename the table name, or you can modify an existing columns data type in a table. But there is one more thing. Using alter table statement, you can also add constraints to a table. That is, for example, if you have created a table, and after creating that table, you suddenly remember that you want to specify any specific constraint for a specific column of that table. Now, may that constraint be primary key, foreign key, unique, etc. Right? So what you can do, that is, for example, consider if you have created a table student, okay, and in that table you have created columns like SID, SNAME, and SMarks. After creating that table and after inserting data in that table, what you need to do now is, that is specify or add primary key constraint for SID column. So after creating the table, if you want to add constraint for any column of that table, any specific constraint for any column of that table, you can do it using alter table statement, instead of deleting data from that table and dropping that table and creating that table once again. what you can do is using alter table statement, you can add constraint for any column of that specific table. Okay, and how you can do it is, the syntax we use for that is alter table, table name, add constraint, constraint name, add constraint, constraint name as user defined constraint name semicolon. Okay, I know many of you may not be knowing this, but using alter table statement, you can also add constraints to a specific table. You can also add constraints to a specific table means what? That is, what you can do is, for example, consider if you have created a student table in which you have included columns, or created columns like SID, SNAME, SMarks, etc. Okay, then after creating that table and after inserting data in that table, now if you want to specify or define primary key constraint for SID column, then what you can do, that is, or normally what you will do, that is delete that table, and once again recreate that table, and while recreating that table you will specify primary key constraint for SID column. But this process is lengthy. So simply what you can do, that is, if after creating a table and inserting data in that table, if you want to specify any constraint for any particular column of that table, may that constraint be primary key, foreign key, unique, default, etc. Right? Unique, check constraint, etc. So simply what you can do, that is, you can use alter table statement. Okay, and using alter table statement, how you can add constraint for that specific column, for any column of that table, is alter table, table name, add constraint, constraint name as user defined constraint name semicolon. Right? In the same way, if you observe the difference between alter table and delete statement, what is the difference between alter table and delete statement? Delete statement deletes the data from the table, but alter table statement, it affects the structure of the table. That is the you can compare alter table statement and delete statement in the same way as you compared alter table statement and update statement. That is, what does delete statement do? It affects the rows of the table. Whereas alter table statement, it affects the structure of the table. Means, now many of you may be asking, what is structure of table, or how we display structure of table. I know many of you may be not knowing that how to display structure of table. So for that we use query describe table and table name semicolon. That is, for example, if you have created employee table which contains columns EID, ENAME, e-salary and e-mobile number. Okay, for example, consider only you have created this table, and after that if you want to display structure of that table, simply you can execute the SQL query describe employee semicolon. That is, describe employee name semicolon. Right? After executing this query, structure of employee table gets displayed, and after the structure getting displayed, that is the structure of your table. And using alter table statement, what you can do, you can alter the structure of the table. Alter means modify or change the structure of the table. That is, you can drop an existing column from a table, or modify data type specified for any existing column of that table, or add a new column in an existing table, or change the table name, or rename the table name, or you can modify data type of an existing column in that table, etc. Right? In the same way, as I told you the difference between alter table statement and delete statement. What does delete statement do? It affects the rows of the table. That is, it deletes the data from the table. But alter table statement, it affects the structure of the table. In the same way, why we use constraints? We use constraints to maintain data integrity. Now there are different constraints in SQL, like primary key, foreign key, check, unique, etc. Right? Now why we use primary key constraint? That is, for example, if you have created student table, and while creating student table, if you have specified primary key constraint for SID column, what is meaning of that? That while inserting data into student table, you need to insert unique values in SID column. Insert unique values in SID column means what? That while inserting data into student table in SID column, for any row, you cannot insert a duplicate value or a repeated value. And also and also what is the secondary use of primary key? That is, using primary key you can identify that particular row of that table uniquely. That is, if you have that is while creating student table, if you have specified primary key constraint for SID column, then what's the meaning of that? That while inserting data into student table, you need to insert unique values in SID column. And while and since you have inserted unique values in SID column, for example, consider if you have inserted 4 rows into student table, right? Then for first row you have inserted one SID value. For second row you have inserted two SID value. For third row you have inserted three SID value, and for fourth row you have inserted four SID value. So the first or the primary function of primary key is that when you specify primary key for any specific column while creating a table, the meaning of that is after creating that table, when you insert data into that table, the column for which you have specified primary key, in that column compulsory you need to insert unique data or unique values. But the secondary function of primary key is what? That is, for example, if while creating student table you have assigned primary key constraint for SID column, okay, you have assigned primary key constraint for SID column. That is, after that what you need to do is, after creating student table, while inserting data into that table in SID column, you need to insert unique values, okay. And while inserting data into student table in SID column, for any row you cannot insert any duplicate or repeated values. And the secondary function of primary key is that using that is on the basis of those unique values, you can on the basis of those unique values you can identify that particular row of that table uniquely. That is, while inserting data into student table, if for in SID column, if for first row you have inserted one SID value, then one SID value, then on basis of that value you can identify that it is the first row in the student table, or it is the first row of the student table. In the same way, we also use aggregate functions like count, sum, average, etc. Now, count aggregate function in SQL is used to display count of rows or count of number of rows in a table. Sum aggregate function in SQL is used to display sum of values stored in an column. That is, for example, while creating student table, if you have created S marks column, okay, and in that S marks column you have, let's say you have inserted 10 values, okay. Now, what does sum function do? That is, using sum function, you can display the total of that column. You can display the total or sum of that column. That is using sum aggregate function. We display sum of all values stored in a column which contains integer data type, right? Using sum function, we display sum of all values stored in a numeric column, okay, stored in a numeric column. In the same way, using average aggregate function, we can display the average of all values stored in a numeric column. In the same way, there are many aggregate functions like maximum aggregate function, minimum aggregate function, etc. We also use clauses. Clauses in SQL. Clauses like inner join, right join or right outer join, left join or left outer join, update join, delete join, to combine data stored in one or more tables. In the same way, we also use copy database point. Okay, copy database point. Why we use copy database point? Now, I know many of you may not be familiar with this copy database point. Why we use copy database point? That is, now for example, consider you have a database named sample, okay, and in that database you have 3 tables: student, employee, and products. And now what you want to do, that is, for example, consider you have created a new database called experiment, and the next thing what you want to do is you want to copy the sample database. You want to copy the sample database as it is into experiment database, which is the newly created database, which is empty. Okay. Now for that, what you can do is, I know many of you may not be knowing about MySQL dump. Okay. Many of you may not be knowing about MySQL dump. So first what you need to do is, first install MySQL dump on your system, and after that what you need to do is using MySQL dump you can copy data from that database into a .sql file, okay, into a SQL file, that is a file having .sql extension. And after that you can transfer the data from that .sql file or SQL file into new database. That is, firstly what you need to do, that is open command prompt, and after opening command prompt, using MySQL dump -u root -p data source database name greater than symbol, and user defined file name, that is the SQL file in which you want to store the data from that database, and the file name may be user defined, right? After executing this instruction, what happens, that is the entire data from the source database is copied into that user defined, or is copied into that SQL file. And after that using MySQL, that is using MySQL -u root -p file name, that is SQL file name, or file name having .sql extension, or SQL file less than symbol, SQL file sorry, the actual instruction is MySQL -u root -p destination database less than symbol, and after that SQL file name or SQL file or file having .sql extension, that is the SQL file in which data from the source database is stored, right? And after that what happens, that data from the source data from that SQL file is transferred to the new database. In this way, like copy database, you can also execute copy specific tables. You can also manually copy structure and data of one table into another table. But while manually copying structure and data of one table into another table, the destination table must contain the same structure as that of source table, right? Again, you have triggers concept in SQL. Using triggers, what are triggers? Triggers are stored automatic procedures. Okay, triggers are stored automatic procedures that are called automatically when user performs insert, update, or delete operations. Okay, now there are multiple types of triggers, like before insert, after insert, before update, after update, before delete, and after delete. Okay, now the copy database point, which I told you, I know many of you may not be knowing this, but using this point, you can also perform various copy operations. That is like copying database, copying specific tables from a database, manually copying structure and table, etc. Right? After that, as I told you, that not only knowing the main concepts of any language, may it be a programming language, scripting language, or a database language, isn't enough. But along with that, you should also be familiar with the minute details of that language, may it be a programming language, scripting language, or a database language, right? That is, like in SQL, I told you, for example, difference between alter table statement and alter table statement and update statement, then difference between alter table statement and delete statement, or in SQL what a row is also known as, or in SQL what a column is also known as. After that, as I told you about using alter table statement, many of you may be knowing that using alter table statement you can alter the structure of the table. But I know many of you may not be knowing that using alter table statement you can also add constraints to a specific table, or add constraints to any column of a specific table. In the same way, you can also copy databases, that is copy a database from copy the entire database as it is into a new database, right? Or copy specific tables from a database, or manually copy structure and table, etc. Okay, now SQL forms the base for nearly all data analytics project. And after learning SQL, you can land job roles like SQL developer, data analyst, database engineer, ETL developer, etc. Now, the next data analytic tool is Python. It is a versatile programming language with strong data libraries like pandas, numpy, seaborn, plot, matplotlib, etc. It is useful for automating repetitive tasks, statistical analysis, and machine learning. It is often used for building data products, predictive models, and scripts for large-scale processing. Now, Python is a latest emerging trend in the IT industry. That is, that is, anyone or any candidate, may he be of IT background or non-IT background, if he wishes to pursue a career in software development or software engineering. Now, the base of software development or software engineering is programming languages, right? So, if you are, and all of you know that before learning any advanced programming language, your base of C and C++ programming language must be clear. But but since Python is a syntax-free programming language, okay, so any student, may he be of IT background or non-IT background, what he can do, that he can learn that he can directly learn Python. He can directly learn Python means Python is an easily adaptable language. Python is an easily adaptable language that since it's syntax free, you can easily adapt it. You can easily adapt it. Now in Python there are various libraries like pandas, NumPy, Seaborn, Matplotlib, etc. Now pandas library is used for data frames or data sets. Okay. After that, NumPy library, it is used for mathematical and statistical calculations. Seaborn library and Matplotlib, these libraries are used for data visualizations. Okay, data visualizations like scatter plot, histogram, correlation heat map, etc. Now Python is also useful for automating repetitive tasks, statistical analysis, and machine learning. Now many of you may not be knowing, but like, or as Python is also used for uh, programming language or software development, Python is also used for web development. Web development means using Python you can also design web pages. That is, many of you may be aware of front end. For designing front end, which all technologies we use? We use HTML, CSS, JavaScript, or you can say we use HTML5, CSS3, and JavaScript. Now, what is HTML5 and CSS3? HTML5 is the latest version of HTML, whereas CSS3 is the latest version of CSS, right? So, all of you may be aware that for designing front end, we use technologies like HTML5, CSS3, and JavaScript. In the same way, you can also use Python as a scripting language. You can also use Python as a scripting language for designing web pages or for web development. In the same way, many of you may be knowing about software testing. Software testing, that is, what is software testing? Or in testing, again there are two main domains. One is manual testing and another is test automation, right? So in manual testing, what we do, that is we test the hardware of the system. That is, we test the hardware of the system means, let me give you a simple example. Consider you have a laptop. And what we do using manual testing, that is, we test its motherboard. We test its motherboard, or we test its processor. That is, the functionalities which are on that motherboard or on that processor, we test manually that whether all the functionalities work properly or not. And in test automation, what we do, that is, we write scripts. That is, for example, consider you have developed a web application, or for example, consider we have Google Chrome web browser. Okay, we have Google Chrome web browser. In Google, on the home page of Google Chrome web browser, we have different web elements like search box, Gmail, or link text, etc. Right? Now, after entering data in the search box, or after entering our query in the search box, what should happen? That Google should show search results related to that query, right? Or after clicking on that Gmail option, or after clicking on that Gmail link text, what should happen? That is, Gmail window should get opened, or official page of Gmail should get opened. But these web elements, whether they are properly functioning or not, or whether they are properly working or not, how we test it? We test it using software testing. So, as software testing, as software testing, that is, many of you may be knowing about Selenium, right? So, as we do software testing using Java programming language, in the same way, we can also do software testing using Python programming language, right? Also, as I told you previously, that Python is also used as a scripting language. That is, it is used for web development. Now, the next, it is often used for building data products, predictivity models, and scripts for large-scale processing. That is, Now there are multiple features of Python which make it preferable, or which make it selective over other programming languages. Like it is syntax free, it has strong data libraries, etc. But but there is one minute detail which many of you may not be knowing, that is related to memory allocation. Related to memory allocation means what? That in Python, first of all, in Python, memory is divided into two parts. One is stack and another is heap. Stack stores the values, whereas heap stores the memory reference or memory address of that variable. But in Python, when we assign same value to two different variables, both those same values or common values share same memory address. Share same memory address means what? That, for example, if you have defined a is equal to 10, and then the next statement you have defined b is equal to 10. In that case, what happens? That the 10 values, that for the 10 values stored in a variable, a unique memory address is assigned. But for the 10 values stored in b variable, no unique memory address is assigned. What the 10 value stored in b variable does is it points to the unique memory address allocated for the 10 value stored in a variable. That is, we can conclude that both the values share common memory address. And on the basis of this, we can also conclude that Python consumes less memory compared to other programming languages. In the same way, if you consider this same scenario in case of C programming language, that is, for example, if you have assigned, if you have declared and initialized an integer variable a with value 10, and secondly you have declared and initialized an integer value b with, and secondly you have declared and initialized integer variable b with value 10. In case of C programming language, what happens? That a separate unique memory address is allocated for the 10 values stored in a variable, and another separate unique memory address is allocated for 10 values stored in b variable. That is C consumes more memory compared to Python programming language. In the same way, since all of you know that Python is syntax free, Python has rich data libraries, Python is used for software testing, Python is used for scripting. In the same way, Python is also used for learning emerging latest industry trends like machine learning, artificial intelligence, data science using Python, etc. Okay. Now in data science using Python, what we do? All the same things which we do in Excel. All the same things which we do in Excel means, I don't say that data science using Python and Excel are similar, but using that in data science using Python, or while learning data science using Python, or in data science using Python, what all we do? That is, we do data pre-processing. That is cleaning the data, right? Or forecasting, or identifying trends and patterns, data visualization, NLP, natural language processing. Now, what is NLP? That is, consider you have designed a product mobile. You have designed a product or a mobile, okay, and after that you have released it in market. After releasing it in market, many users use it, and each user posts his feedback according to his experience of using that product, or according to his experience of using that mobile. Now some users post positive feedback, while some users post negative feedback. But or after after some users post positive feedback, but some users post negative feedback. Now what the company does? Now the company which manufactured that mobile, or which manufactured that model, what that company does? They collect all the reviews. And classify the reviews in two sections. That is negative reviews and positive reviews. In positive reviews section, what happens? That they search for words like better, excellent, good, etc. And on the basis of that, they identify the areas of strength of that model. But in negative reviews section, what is done? They search for words, or they search for letters, or not letters, but they search for words like bad, worst, etc. And on the basis of that, they identify the areas of improvement of that model or that mobile. That is, someone maybe have posted something bad about any app, or they may have a bad experience of using that app. Then On the basis of that review, what is done? That is, that app is updated. That is, the features of those app are updated, or either that app has been closed. Or that use of that app has been banned. Or what they do, that is, they stop using that app, or they stop the release of that app, or that app is not usable, or its use is cancelled. And instead of that, what they do? A new app with updated features is released. Okay, in the same way, if some user has posted a negative review about any app, what they do, that is, they find the areas of improvement in that app, and after that they add the updated features, or whichever feature about which the customer is complaining, they update it or they improve it. And if it's not possible to update or improve it, what they do, that is, they remove the app from the market. After that, instead of that, they release a new app. They release a new updated app which does the work of the previous app, as well as it has its own features. In the same way, you can also do forecasting. You can identify trends and patterns. Then you have some points of machine learning also in data science using Python, like supervised learning, unsupervised learning. In unsupervised learning, what we do, that is, we do classification, or we do classification on the basis of unlabeled data. Okay, so in the same way, after learning Python, you can land job roles like data scientist, machine learning engineer, automation analyst, Python developer, etc. Now, the next slide is about tools working together. That is, real world data workflows use a combination of tools, that is, SQL for querying, Python for cleaning and modeling, Tableau and Power BI for visualization, Excel for summaries, Superset or Looker for embedding or engineering specific dashboards. Now, let me tell you that data analytics, it is also one of the latest emerging trend. Latest emerging trend means what? That it's also in demand. That is, data analytics means what? That if you learn Excel, either like the base of before learning any advanced programming language, the base is C and C++. That is, these both programming language as base must be clear. In the same way, before learning any advanced data analytic tool, what you need to do is your base of Excel. Must be clear, and on the basis of that, you can learn SQL, or you can learn Apache, or you can learn Tableau, or you can learn Power BI, etc. Or also you can learn Google Looker or Superset, etc. Now, the learning path for data analytics is, it is begin with Excel and SQL to understand data structure and querying, then move to Power BI or Tableau for dashboards and reporting skills. After that, learn Python for automation, deeper analysis, and predictive modeling. Then explore Looker and Superset for advanced modeling and cloud native or real-time analytics. And in data analytics field, you can do certifications like Power BI, Tableau, Desktop, Looker, Python, and SQL. Okay. Now, let me tell you that Power BI, it is the advanced version of Excel, and many of you may be not be knowing, but Power BI also has its own cloud service. Which is Power BI service. Power BI also has its own cloud computing service, which is Power BI service, which is a cloud platform. In the same way as Amazon provides Amazon Web Services cloud computing service, or Microsoft provides Azure cloud computing service, or Google provides Google Cloud Platform service. In the same way, after that, move to Power BI or Tableau for dashboard and reporting skills. That is, Power BI and Tableau, its maximum use or its maximum focus is on data visualization. Then learn Python for automation, deeper analysis, and predictive modeling. Explore Looker and Superset for advanced modeling and cloud native or real-time analytics, etc. Now, the career opportunities after learning data analytics are you can land job roles like data analyst, BI developer, Python developer, data scientist, analytics engineer, etc. And also you can see the average salary after landing any one of these positions in the global range as well as local range. Now, real world applications. That is Power, for example, Power BI is used for store scale, sales tracking, inventory alerts, etc. Python and SQL are used in healthcare to build risk prediction models. Fintech. In fintech, Looker dashboards are used for user investments and real-time profit or loss. In startups, Apache Superset is used by developers to monitor usage metrics. So, the final thoughts on data analytics and and visualization tools is no single tool is sufficient. Combine strengths like SQL plus Python plus visualization. Build real world dashboards from open data or your company data. Also, after that, share your work publicly on platforms like GitHub, LinkedIn, etc. to build credibility. And last but not the least, aim to be a storyteller with data, not just a number cruncher. Okay? So, thank you guys, or thank you viewers for listening to me patiently. Let's meet in the next session.